Rotten Tomatoes has already reviewed this sequel of a prequel that's also still a prequel of 2007's Transformers. 55 by the critics, 86% by the audience. We're here to review Transformers Rise of the Beast. Autobots, roll out. And Adan called it during our review of Bumblebee.
Vindication. Vindication.
Welcome back to Tales of Two Bros. I am Angel.
I'm Adan.
Where we give you a review at least once a week. Spoilers. So yes, Adan, you called it.
I called a couple things.
Yes, but you called one definitely in the sense of during our review of Bumblebee that you said that what if John Cena was really part of this other organization, G.I. Joe?
Yes.
And when that was shown, I was like, holy crap.
I'm telling you, I was in the theater like.
Granted, John Cena is not in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's supposed to be a sequel of the prequel, which is still a prequel to the original movie.
Actually, there's more details to that, though.
Let's go over real quick before you go over your powers that be that I was able to figure that out and all that stuff. It's directed by Steve Caple Jr., written by Jarby Harold, Darnell Medayer, and others, it says here. Starring Anthony Ramos, Dominique Fishback, Luna Lauren Velez, who we know from Spider-Verse movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you this right now, she did a far better job doing a live action performance than she ever did in the animated. Because I'm sorry, she is boring as hell and flat.
She had less time on the screen.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's some people who are great voice actors, and there are some people who are great actors, and there are some people who can act and voice act. She is not the person who can voice act. Sorry. You have a multiple of live actors, but the voices of the Autobots, the Primals, and
Terracons.
So we have here, to go off really quick as best as possible, Peter Cullen, who played Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Perlman was Optimus Primal. Peter Dinklage was Scourge. Did not know that. Michelle Yeoh, very distinguished voice,
Absolutely.
Was Air Razor. Peter Davison, I had to look while watching the movie who the voice was because I couldn't recognize the voice until I looked, and he's Mirage.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Lisa Koshy, she plays Arcee.
Mm-hmm.
John DiMaggio, he was Transit, Stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
David Sobolov, he was Ronix, Battletrap, Apple Link.
Rhinox.
What'd I say?
Ronix.
Oh, sorry. Rhinox.
For the longest time, Beast Wars was my number one Transformers show.
So he was the voice for that?
I don't remember if he was the original voice, but that was the character's name for 100%.
Okay. MJ Rodriguez was Nightbird. Coleman Domingo was Unicron. Great voice for that.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Cristo Fernandez from Ted Lasso fame. He was Wheeljack. I'm going to say this wrong. Tungai Teresa. Sorry for that. He was Cheetor.
Yeah.
He had like one line or two.
He had more lines than Rhinox.
True. That is true. But some of the voices were great. Like Michelle Yeoh, very distinguished.
Yeah.
Easy to pinpoint. Cristo, awesome. Him and I were like, we heard his voice because we're excited for him being successful. This is his second that I know of big blockbuster kind of film. He was in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and he's in this. You are a huge fan of Transformers. You're familiar, like you said, of Beast Wars. How good were they in the sense of capturing the Beast Wars aspect?
Okay, so that's actually one of the biggest negatives I had. There's pros and cons to this. The biggest con against it is like the Maximals. Even though they adopted the form of animals, technically they didn't do it like they did in Beast Wars. Beast Wars was like, they looked and they were the same size as the animals, and then they like became the machines.
So they're really more incognito in the sense they blended in better.
Just like Transformers. I love the fact that Optimus Primal, they did have a good storyline for him. Like there was a little bit of driving for him. And Michelle Yeoh's a character, Air Razor. Love Michelle Yeoh. Mm-hmm. Everything she does, she's just great in of everything I've seen. I wanted more Cheetor. I wanted more Rhinox. They didn't even have Rat Trap. I was upset. No Rat Trap. He was perfect in that cave. Like he was a smart aleck tech guy. Didn't even have him. So it just hurt me in my soul. But nothing relevant to you at all. It's over your head. But
well, no, I mean, that's great that you know this. I don't. I mean, my limitation of Transformer animation or Transformer cartoons, it was the ones that was
84.
on, huh?
1984 Transformers.
Right, yeah. But I'm talking about like, the ones in after school, the lineup of He-Man, Transformer, G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So all those, that's what I'm familiar with. And so the Beast Wars, that's a little more recent in comparison. And yes, I'm not familiar with that. So real quick, now I like that both Optimus did the roll call of roll out. But who truly was first? Was it Optimus Prime or Optimus Primal?
Oh, you're asking the chicken or egg question.
In the movie, Optimus Prime is first.
True.
Because Primal says, I took my name after you.
Yes.
And don't you have that figure? Didn't I buy you that figure?
Yes.
That's so, in the box?
So that figure version is, again, this is all about time travel. That version of Optimus Primal is him partially fused with Optimus because he finds Optimus' body from the OG series when he was comatose, and then timeline got changed.
So again, who came first in the books or in the cartoons?
Technically, you're going to say, like any continuity nerd will say Optimus.
But I'm asking you.
I will say,
what do you know?
I will tell you the OG Optimus Prime is technically first. Then you go into time travel continuity shenanigans. Any movie about time travel is always going to be like that.
Yeah. Now, I did see some tie-ins to the original one where they say the scorpion.
Yes.
That was in the desert scene in the original one. And a spinoff or I guess a relative of that little shiny character. I forgot the name again. I want to say Frizzer or Freezer or whatever the thing was that turned into a cassette and then turned into a cell phone in the original one.
Yes.
So they had that as Scourge's lapdogs, if you will.
Okay. So I said what was negative about the Beast Wars thing. I'm going to tell you what's the positive. And this is also going to talk about like the whole continuity issue. I'm going to knock this out of the way right now.
For those who are first time listening or watching our review here, is that I had trouble a lot in the sense of what Transformers 2007 did and then the sequels, but then the prequel of Bumblebee happened that took place in
1984. I'm sorry, 87.
87, yeah, because it's 7 years apart. That I lost the continuity how Optimus Prime got there in the Bumblebee movie, where we see him in the 2007 movie Transformers. He arrives there.
Yes. And they still don't answer that question.
They still don't answer that question, but I thought that we're going to when he was being sucked up.
True. Which would have been cool.
It would have been cool. That's like, okay. But go on.
Okay, so there's two explanations to this. There's the financial explanation in real life. So super quick answer for that. In real life, Bumblebee was meant to be the prequel, and it was produced and made to be the prequel to Michael Bay's Transformers. Roughly like halfway to like near the end of the production, they decided to use it as a reboot, hence why the Optimus Prime scene at the end of Bumblebee. Now, even though that was done, it was never announced officially until a year, 2 years, something like that later. I had to dig for this. And I just found it today. Even Hasbro officially announced Bumblebee is technically a prequel / reboot. If we want to keep it into continuity.
But what is it then? Because it can't be both.
No, financially it is both. But officially it's considered a reboot. It's a full-on reboot.
Okay.
Now, here's if we want to be really geeky and go into this. Technically, this is supposed to be a reboot. So the whole wiki thing, if you want, you could say scratch that. Or if you want to keep it in your whole movie franchise library, this is how you answer that question. In the actual storyline of Beast Wars, time travel is a thing. The Maximals are set from the future, and this is why they say it's like we're from your future and your past. Is Terminator?
That was my mind went, what the hell?
Yes.
So you're in the present, pretty much. If you're in the future and the past, You're actually in the present.
for them. So what happens in Beast Wars, in actuality, in the original series, they get sent back to like prehistoric times, and they are there before the Transformers even arrived. Their involvement actually changed history. Something that you might remember. Remember Chris Pine's Star Trek Into Darkness?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, the wormhole and all this stuff.
Spock meets Spock, and they're talking about time, and the fact that the OG Spock came back, rewrote time, or
Right.
like Flashpoint. Think of it like that. DC Flashpoint. One particular event alters the rest of history. Butterfly effect. This answers that. The primals, and they said we were here since before you guys ever got here, and they altered everything, and it just kaleidoscope of history is no longer the same. It can still stay in the franchise, but it's officially a reboot. Thank God, because last night, if you try to rationalize what happened in last night, the 5th Transformers film, it will never make sense because Mark Wahlberg's film had Unicron as Earth.
They mentioned Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, they had a lot of references. So many references.
Oh, I know, but the thing is, they mentioned Mark Wahlberg in a sense of as if Marky Mark.
Yeah. No, he said
So
Marky Mark. Yeah.
Right. So they had that little thing. I was like, okay, that's really cute. They're pulling back from that. So wait a minute, hold up. Earth was what before? And when Mark Wahlberg was there?
Unicron. Exactly.
A few moments later.
Okay. So I mean, okay. Oh, but Unicron was more like Galactus.
Exactly. As he always should have been. He should never have been Earth.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We're bringing it back to the old school, baby.
Yes. Getting it.
That's why I like it. Because the Unicron here was very similar to 84 movie Unicron. That classic, it's a planet, and you see the face, and it's like eats and devours other planets. I'm like, yeah, that's the Unicron I grew up with. That's a terrifying character. That covers my retcon. That was actually the best description I could come up with
So your retcon, it really is just that from Bumblebee is a reboot of the Transformer franchise.
Exactly. And then for anybody that was trying to rationalize the two together in their mind, that's the best way you could do it. Is this movie ties all of them, but you don't have to. It's just like Star Trek.
Yeah, but I mean, the way they tie it together is pretty much with the Camaro, Bumblebee's Camaro, and I guess because is now the G.I. Joe business card.
Yes,
it had an emblem, right?
Yeah, G.I. Joe has their own emblem.
Right, but I was trying to remember it was the same one that John Turturro's character had, or they did a mock-up in the sense of similar, because they don't say they're G.I. Joe division.
I want to say because they say John Turturro's division in Bumblebee, right? It's like Section 7 or Section 8 or something like that, right?
Right.
But they were talking about in John Cena, I want to say there was a scene where they were talking about like spinning off, not really spinning off, but like we need to be prepared kind of situation. Mm-hmm. I can imagine this evolving into the GI, like Section 8 evolves into G.I. Joe.
What's funny, earlier I was talking to someone around my age and very big into all the stuff that we're into.
Yeah.
He agrees with me, like Transformer has become very Fast and Furious, where the story doesn't make sense, the continuity is all over the place, but then it's about family. They made that mention in it. And I told them to watch. They'll probably do a G.I. Joe with Transformers. No, Fast and Furious with Transformers and G.I. Joe fighting Jurassic Park.
I did make a joke about that years ago on like someone else's stream. I forget what stream it was, but I joked about it. Like, it's like are they all produced on the same company? Like they just cross over and just make it all happen? I showed you that one meme about Fast and Furious making Megazord.
Right.
It's a doable thing now.
Well, I mean, doesn't Hasbro own G.I. Joe rights?
Hasbro owns Power Rangers, G.I. Joes, Transformers. Yeah, they have all the major lines.
So they can probably make a Hasbro universe. And it looks like they are going to, with G.I. Joe now mentioned in this.
Yeah, no, it works because like G.I. Joe had storylines in like comics where they did missions and interacted with Transformers. So it absolutely would work.
Is there like a cartoon or a cartoon movie of G.I. Joe and Transformers?
I don't believe there is a cartoon movie.
Okay.
That will be the one exception. But I do remember comics where they interacted.
Now, this movie is good. It's good at the heart. You have the man trying to do right by his family, by his brother who needs money for his condition. He's former military, very smart, very technically savvy.
Yeah.
Then you have this girl, which is funny also. There's always, if you notice, pretty much in every Transformer movie or production, is two people, a boy and a girl, helping the Autobots.
I feel like that's a Michael Bay thing.
No, but it's like, here. But there was a boy and a girl here. Bumblebee, a boy and a girl.
All the 5 Transformer movies. Mark Wahlberg, his daughter, Mark Wahlberg, some English chick,
Shia LaBeouf with Megan Fox, and the other model chick, whatever, in the third film. So it's always like a male and female. But anyway, do you have a favorite moment? I have 2.
Setting aside G.I. Joe vindication moment for me, I would say the first car chase scene with Jazz was fun.
Jazz or Mirage?
Mirage. Wow. I messed up on that one. I should have got that. Mirage. I did like the mountain pass when they were being chased by Scourge and Nightbird and whatnot, and they're being in their action wise. I thought that was great. Maybe edging it out just for nostalgia and for the fun of it. In contrast, I didn't like the end fight scene. I wasn't a big fan of the end fight scene, except for Bumblebee. I knew it was coming. I saw it coming. But then when like you hear the soundtrack comes in, he's like, "Don't call it a comeback," and he jumps out. I'm like, yes,
I have to agree. That was one of my favorite moments. The return of Bumblebee and how he returned.
Oh yeah, it was badass.
No, it was totally badass. And this is the first time where you hear him, like usually no, not necessarily. So that's not true. I was going to say that he also pretty much plays like music, but he also does movies or lines from that. Here he did a lot of lines. He did one from They Live.
Die Hard.
What's his name? Scarface. For me, it was a deep cut when he did They Live line. I thought he was going to say the whole thing.
Oh, I thought so too. As I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Right. And for me, the one that took a home was that business card.
Yeah.
Here's the bad parts for me.
Okay.
Everything else was okay because you have some like cheeky moments. Elena, she was in my opinion. She was valuable to help, but
she was a tool to get to the MacGuffin.
She took forever to get up to that stone to do the communication. It took forever. I was like, she's still there. And then she had to die for the book bag. And the thing is, like, what the language is only 3 symbols.
I was thinking that too. I'm like, you remember all sorts of languages and hieroglyphics. You can't remember 3 symbols that you cracked the code on.
Exactly. And it took her like 20 minutes to get from the cliff to the console, which was like maybe 10 feet away, not even. And it was like taking forever. And then you have here
Scourge?
Noah. No, you have Noah going all Iron Man.
Yes, which reminds me of Transformers Pretenders. That was a thing where or Titan Masters. It could be either, where the Transformers couldn't maintain themselves. And Titan Masters, they used humans or smaller robots to actually pilot them as a whole.
That's what Mirage said to him. You have to take the wheel.
Exactly. So I feel like they combined Titan Masters and Pretenders to make that.
Okay. But still, the whole process of him getting the
suit
armor on,
totally
Iron Man.
Absolutely. He even had that pose.
It reminded me of the scene in Iron Man 3. No, Iron Man 2, excuse me. Iron Man 2, when he's at the racetrack.
Yeah.
While Whiplash is coming after him. He's like taking his time, putting it on. There's a Fast and Furious moment when they're in the mountains and they're trying to fight and the rocket gets shot and the truck, the car or the caravan turns and the girl goes like, you can read the lips. She's saying the F word.
Yeah.
As the rocket's going by, I was like, that is a total Fast and Furious moment right there. Vin Diesel would have been like, I'm going to sue for copyright stunt infringement.
You know what that street reminded me of, though? Like, remember Moon Knight, where they're being chased down and everything's falling down through that? It kind of gave me that vibe. Yeah, on the first episode, I kind of got that vibe. But it was kind of fun.
Now, Anthony Ramos, who plays Noah, we've seen him in other productions. He was in The Heights. He was also... one of the main original actors of Hamilton. He did very good.
I think so.
He was good. Yeah, he had that Brooklyn accent. And for me, being from New York or living in New York and Brooklyn for like a good 15 years, that took me back. His brother, holy New York boy. He is a total New Yorker. And I was just
he's like, I'm not asking, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, the accent. That they found him in New York. No ifs, ands, or buts. That was a nice bond too. They had where they're bringing the Sonic game into that, where they're calling each other by their code name. She was weak. I'm going back to Elena
acting wise.
When she's talking to Noah on the plane over to Peru. Mm-hmm. She's talking to him and explained like how her father's so smart, even though he never went to college. And the way she's talking is like she's asleep. It's like, yeah, my dad, he'll talk about like the war and how things came to be. And he was really smart, even though he never went to college. I was like, well, why? I was like, why is she drugged up? Or is like, to me, she was
not the strongest character there.
Not the strongest, correct. Yes, not the strongest. And Noah was right to destroy. Mm-hmm. I mean, what he wanted to do is what they had to do.
This is the first call was the right call.
Well, don't forget, he's military. He's military trained.
Yeah.
He's either one world goes out
or all worlds.
Right. What he was calling for is what they had to do. Mm-hmm. And her being like a scientist and archaeologist, if you will, she was like, no, we have to say it because,
like the first scientist.
She was more about doing research.
Yeah, like the guy in Bumblebee.
Right.
She just got lucky.
Yeah. Now, do you have a weak moment?
The weakest moment for me was that final fight scene. Not with Scourge and Optimus, but with all the stuff that was happening. Like, I'm not a big fan of them because it looks like they blended in together. It's like one of the things we always talk about with the Marvel movies. You have that big climactic ray in the sky and the fight scene, and through the haze of the action, you lose the characters. I did mention about how I wasn't liking the Beast, that part of the Beast Wars. Overall, I did have a better time with the film than negatives. I will say this. I'm usually not a Pete Davidson fan in a lot of things. I did like him here. Two very funny moments for me, which I feel like had to be improv, was
the fist pound?
Not that. Oh. The one where he's my work friend. He's like, work friend? It's like, dude, you were inside me.
That caught Kim off guard, and that caught Kim off guard. Even caught everybody off guard. Besides that, before we go any further, how was your audience's experience?
Actually, it wasn't packed, but it was a fair amount. It was like maybe 7 to 10 people. One guy openly clapped and was like, "Woo!" when Scourge got put into the lava. And Prime is like, "Let me show you what it means to be a Prime," and he's like, "Yeah." I'm like. Okay. Someone's an Optimus fan.
For my audience, was pretty not packed, but it was pretty good, size. They were laughing at things that we weren't laughing. It was not funny, but I guess what have you. It was just it made no sense what they were laughing at because there was really no joking moment when they were laughing. But they cheered when Bumblebee returned.
That was a good moment to cheer.
They cheered when the G.I. Joe reference. And they laughed as all hell on that quote from Pete Davidson.
Yes.
Because it was really off guard there.
The other scene I was going to say, sorry.
For the most part, they were the really attentive audience. Some people were being obnoxious in the sense of having their phone on here and there, which I was like, but why? But it wasn't too much that was distracting. And then?
My last thing I'm going to say, the other scene with Pete Davidson that made me laugh was when Cheetor pounces on him and he screams like a girl. And he's like, stranger danger, stranger danger. I'm like, what? And then Cheetor's like, I'm sorry I scared you, man. He goes, I wasn't scared. That's an oil leak.
Yeah. No, what's great about Pete Davidson in this is that I couldn't figure who it was.
Yeah.
So with all these lines, I was like, wow, this guy is really natural at this. And then to figure out it was Pete Davidson, I was like, holy crap. I was like, he's really good. And that was kind of refreshing too, that Bumblebee wasn't the star.
Yes. I agree.
Right.
And you had a star that actually talked back.
Right. And interacted in a different way. Mm-hmm. It was great to see him in it, but I was thinking that he was going to be in it like he was in Bumblebee, like he was in the other Transformer films. And when he got killed or taken out, we're like, oh, there goes the continuity. How are they going to bring him back? And then I saw that happening. It's like, how, okay, this is going to happen. They're going to find that little mineral thing, whatever that they need, or energy that they need to boost. And then it happened. So I was like, oh, there you go. There's my answer.
So your overall, let's get your rating on this.
It is entertaining. It is worth the watch, especially on the big screen. To own, no. A movie like Transformers or any movie for the Transformer franchise, it's appreciated on the big screen with the surround sound system. That's what you need it for. Can you watch it on a small screen? Yes, but you're not going to get that well of an experience.
That oomph.
What about you?
View it, yes. Worth the watch, yeah. Especially if you're a Transformers fan. For me, yes. And then I'm probably gonna go get it.
In comparison to Bumblebee, which one is better? It has to be this one, because if you like Beast Wars,
I will nudge it for this one just because it does. It solidifies the reboot idea to me. More action too.
To me, Transformers, the original, still holds up. It's still better.
Hey, I'm not gonna take that away from you.
Well, no, it's because you have multiple things. You have the military gets involved. Notice that no military got involved. There's intergalactic threat.
We could say that they're the G.I. Joe now, though.
Yeah, but no. No. You had intergalactic threat happening in the original, and what happened? The military got involved, as rightly so. Okay, especially if you see a huge planet coming down to devour you, what, you're going to have nothing to answer for it?
I mean, they wrote it off as a storm, but
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, did the military get involved with Green Lantern? Poor comparison.
We're talking about Transformers. We're not cross-franchising here.
Not yet.
Okay, we're talking about this. Even though it's far-fetched, it brought some reality to it in the original. And I just find it a better story.
Oh, I did like the transformation for Optimus. It reminded me of the toy. He did the whole thing.
Right, but here's the thing. When he's a truck, he's all shiny and clean. And when he transforms into Optimus Prime, he's all dirty and rusty.
I gotta relook at that part to see if he's rusty.
Not necessarily rusty, but he's dirty.
He does look. He doesn't look as clean cut and as I agree.
But when he's a truck, he is. He's chromed out, shiny, sparkling. Then again, when he goes into a robot form, all that shine, whatever he had, just goes away.
It's true.
Like, all right, guys. That is our movie review of Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Have you seen it? Please let us know what your thoughts about it. Also, if you have a movie or show you would like us to review, please don't be shy. Let us know. Email us at talesoftvbros@gmail.com or leave a description below. Until next time, will be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm Adan.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.
You all are one.